Hi, I'm Vizzy. I like making diagrams, so let's get right into it. I want you to picture anybody in your mind. Somebody you know personally, maybe parasocially online, and I want you to ask yourself, are they funny or are they just attractive? Are they interesting or are they just attractive? Or basically any variation of, are they positive trait or are they just attractive? The topic I'm alluding to is, of course, pretty privilege. Now, I wouldn't be the first, nor will I be the last to talk about this. So in the description, I've linked several other creators' videos talking about the topic, just so you can get a more nuanced take. But a very short summary for what pretty privilege is, it's a social bias where people treat more attractive individuals better, or they get preferential treatment. Now, this video is not going to be necessarily condemning that sort of behavior. What I want to do is explain why it happens and better examine our behavior to see if it lines up with our beliefs. From what I've seen discussed, pretty privilege can vary from getting free drinks at the bar, people holding open doors for you, and numerous other social benefits. Now, this doesn't mean that pretty privilege in and of itself doesn't come with consequences. From harassers or other creeps, there's a definite cost to being pretty. But many people feel like those benefits outweigh the costs, because many people would prefer to be more attractive, even if they're downsides, than be unattractive and still have negative aspects of being unattractive. This phenomenon is usually labeled as the horn or halo effect, where you categorize somebody by one specific trait. Ergo, you're unattractive, so that must mean you're a bad person. Or you are attractive, so you're a good person. There seems to be some sort of moral aspect to it that obviously just isn't true. You can be unattractive and a good person and vice versa, as is plainly obvious to see. But it can sometimes be difficult to remove those biases without examining them. So these are the effects of what's happening. But what's the root cause? I think these two main categories that I have will get us a little closer to that answer. So I think it's the divide between beauty standards and beauty desirability. Now, beauty standards change between cultures. Certain cultures prefer certain hairstyles, certain complexions, and will have different definitions of what beauty is to that culture specifically. But there does seem to be cross-cultural overlap. One of the biggest ones is symmetry. Very often you'll see symmetry equated to physical health, which we'll get a little more into how that affects things in a second. You also see being thinner on that list as well. However, this is slightly a misnomer, and it's probably better written as a good body fat ratio. So it's being thin in the right places. So then we get into beauty desirability. Why is it that we want beauty or want to be around people that we're attracted to? Well, first we get into the biology. One of the largest bodily incentives is to procreate. So if you mate with someone who is attractive, your offspring are more likely to be attractive. Therefore, they can procreate more, yada, 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 yada. The other basic part of it is that it just feels good. When you see someone you're attracted to, your brain releases dopamine and norepinephrine. So even your brain is incentivizing you to look at more attractive people. So because of this beauty desirability, you'll get people who want to meet those standards, who feel like they're not. And you'll get people who look smacks, as it is colloquially named, trying to meet that supposed beauty standard by any means that they can. They can do this by mewing, which from what I've seen has no effect, bone mashing, which I should tell you now, if somebody on the internet tells you to break your bones to look more attractive, that's not good advice, or general cosmetic surgery. So where exactly do we go from here? If we are biologically incentivized to want to look at beautiful people, to want to procreate with beautiful people, but to do said thing requires us to also be beautiful, where we do things like looks maxing, this seems like and already is setting itself up for failure. Because regardless of what looks max people tell you on the internet, there are some things that you just don't need to change to get a partner. Yes, having certain qualities will make it easier. But if you're so hell-bent trying to fix yourself to fit in that mold, I think you're missing the whole point of why it is you want to be more attractive, or who it is you're being attractive for anyways. And there's a couple different ways that people have approached this. One of the most popular ones being, everyone is beautiful. This is sort of a thought-terminating cliche. It's meant to kind of end the conversation and simplify it a little bit. But the irony, of course, is that people usually follow it by something that kind of just makes this backhanded. Of course, they'll say, in their own way. And I think I get why they want to say it like this, because the alternative is way worse. Saying, oh, everyone's ugly, or not everyone can be beautiful, or just more harmful. But I think this one's harmful too. But I think that's just because this situation is just not something that you can put easily into a catchphrase. The reality of it is, If you are more attractive as it currently stands in society, there are significant benefits that you get to that. There's preferential treatment, you have more success at work, despite the shortcomings that are involved. Now, some people may think this is okay, and some people might not. And it would be silly of me to tell you on this video that, oh, just be yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Because that's a lot easier said than done. Because truthfully, I think we're all a little shallow. So maybe the main flaws in this is that 1, we should just try to treat people well, regardless if they're pretty or not. Because if you want a good world, you've got to treat the other people around you good as well. I don't think that's too controversial to say. And I think when it comes to being beautiful, I think we've gone about it trying to be beautiful for other people, trying to meet some standard for us to reach. And I just don't think that that standard is healthy. Because in reality, if you're so caught up every single day of your life with how you appear, you're gonna be miserable. And it's hard to separate yourself from that. It's hard to separate yourself from the idea of wanting to be pretty, wanting to be good looking, following the latest fashion trends. But just for me, I think the only person's opinion about how I look that really should matter is my own.